Hello, I'm back again. Right, I've cut up all of those vegetables and you can see I've put them on a platter in separate piles. Keeps your work area nice and tidy and it makes it easier to assemble the spring rolls when we get to that point, okay? So I've got everything sorted out. The other things that I've done while I've been gone is I've melted my 25 grams of butter and I've gotten a pastry brush out. I put the oven on to 190 degrees Celsius and I've got a baking tray out and I've put a silicone mat on it, but you could put parchment paper on it or tin foil and it will just save you some washing up. If you don't have any of those things, you can just put it on a plain old baking tray. So you need a baking tray, I've melted my butter, I've got all of my ingredients chopped up, ready to assemble my phyllo pastry. Now, phyllo pastry comes in a plastic wrap like that. The other thing that you need to get, and I forgot to tell you just now, is you need to get a clean tea towel and you need to run it under cold water and then wring it out as well as you can so it's just damp. You don't want it drippy or anything, and I'll show you what we're going to do with that tea towel in just a moment. Now, phyllo pastry, if you've not used it before, it's fragile, okay? So we've got to be gentle with it. It comes rolled up, and then if you unroll it, I don't know if you can see that there are sheets, very fine sheets. I'll unroll one and I'll show you. Okay, it's almost see-through, okay? So you've got to be very gentle with it. Now, the recipe calls for us to use 6 of these sheets. So I'm going to put 6 of them onto my chopping board. And the other leftover phyllo pastry, you can use it again. You just need to make sure you wrap it in cling film and keep it in the fridge. If you're not going to use it immediately, put it in the freezer, or indeed you could make something out of phyllo pastry, something else like an apple strudel or an apple turnover. We don't want it to go to waste, do we? Right, now the next thing we've done, I've laid it flat on there. Next thing we need to do is just cut it in half, okay? So it's a rectangle shape and I'm going to cut the long side in half. Okay, now this is where your tea towel comes into play. Because the pastry is so thin, it dries out very quickly, okay? So you're going to keep one sheet of your phyllo pastry on your board for assembly. You're going to take your tea towel, put your other sheets of phyllo pastry aside and place the tea towel over the top of them. That tea towel stops the phyllo pastry from drying out. It's a trick that's not really written in many recipes. It's not written in the recipe that I'm using today, but it really does work, okay? And then what you're going to do is brush the edges of your phyllo pastry that you've got on your board in front of you. If you haven't got a pastry brush, you could just use your fingers, do some finger painting. That won't be any problem. Right, now the butter is acting like a glue in this scenario, and then the trick to getting a good roll on your spring roll is to make sure all of your ingredients that you're putting in the middle are pointing in the same direction. So I've got them pointing long ways across the pastry. Okay, so just take a few of each of your ingredients. So I've got bean sprouts, carrots, peppers, some cabbage, and then some of my chicken that I've shredded up. Really good way to use leftovers, making into a yummy spring roll. Right, and then what we're going to do is fold the edges in, the long edges. You're creating like a little parcel. Okay, and then roll. And then you place it on your baking tray with the seam side down. Okay? I'll show you one more of those just so that you can see what I'm doing. I'll do that in the next one a little more quickly. So I've just lifted up my damp tea towel and I've got my phyllo pastry on my board. Brush the edges. And then we're going to fill it. Remember, the ingredients all going in the same direction so you get a nice even roll on your spring roll. Okay, some cabbage now. Lots of pretty colours. This is a really lovely nutritious dish. It's well balanced. It's got some protein from the chicken. It's got lots of different vitamins because we've got lots of rainbow colour vegetables. And then we do a fold, create like a little envelope for our ingredients, and then you roll them up. Okay, just like that. And then remember, seam side down on your baking tray. I will finish those up now and I'll be back in a moment to show you what we do for baking them. I'll be back soon.